Hello, I'm Plutoburns, and welcome to Eagleland. And for our 10th episode, we are looking at my 5th favorite manga of all time. And since I'm sure you can read video titles, you know that it's Zatch Bell. Zatch Bell is, to me, the epitome of what makes a good shonen manga. Action-packed, hilarious, but most importantly, joyous and thoughtful. It's easy enough to make jokes in this manga, especially with outlandish concepts like lightning-spitting children. But it's not enough for the story to simply contain humor. The overarching story must ultimately be a happy one. Shonen is a celebration of boyish fantasy violence. Don't mix in some hard-boiled, grown-up drama that still has to exist with a wacky slapstick. And at the same time, it's better if the manga isn't simply boyish fantasy violence. Zatch Bell has some surprisingly poignant things to say on becoming king and what it means to actually reach the throne. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What is the story of Zatch Bell? Kyo Takamine is a very brilliant middle school student. How brilliant? He reads papers from MIT and scoffs at their simplicity. Ha! But naturally, his intelligence has made it hard for him to make friends with his classmates. He is a very miserable person right now. But the story begins proper after a strange naked boy breaks through his window. This boy is Zatch Bell, and he was picked up in an English forest by Kyo's father, who sent him to Japan to be Kyo's friend. They don't hit it off too well. But when Kyo accidentally says one of the spells in Zatch's book, Zatch blows a hole in the wall with lightning from his mouth. Turns out Zatch is a child from the demon realm, and he has been chosen to be one of the 100 demon children sent into this world. They must find a human partner who can read their spellbook and do battle, with the losers getting their books burned and returned to the demon world. The last child standing will be crowned King of the Demon World! But we learn all this secondhand from other demons because Zatch has amnesia. His memories were stolen from him by an enemy looking to torture him. He didn't just hit his head on a rock. That would be stupid. And getting the message from other demons gives us plenty of time to be introduced to this manga's extensive rogues gallery. Having 100 participants gives this manga plenty of breathing room to have 10 or so good guys and still have 90 potential villains ranging from evil to hilariously zany, which is a key part of what I feel is necessary for a successful action series: emulation. What I mean is that it can only help your popularity if young boys can imagine they are part of this awesome world you created. Don't even pretend you didn't try to do a Kamehameha when you were a kid. And Zatch Bell provides plenty of space for self-insertion fantasy. With such a wide cast of characters, very few people will have the same favorite character. There is a lot of variety in skill sets as well, with a heaping pile of damage spells and a nice variety of support skills, with some more specialized demons rounding out the roster. And naturally, each spell comes with a totally sweet spell name for the fans to memorize and shout at each other. Sakaru! Runru! Arashield! Raruduk! Kaborin! Kaborin! Now, as I said, this manga has an extensive list of people available to battle, and it wastes no time diving into some sweet, sweet violence. Zatch Bell starts off with the familiar Monster of the Week formula, introducing a new disposable villain and moving on. Though these villains may last more than a week each, the format sticks with small conflicts up until about the 100th chapter, where it switches to the more traditional extended arc format. But the turning point comes well before that. It comes at chapter 18. Around then, we are introduced to a demon named Karuru, who is really nice and has absolutely no interest in taking part in this battle. So all her spells turn her into an alternate personality that is violence crazy. Because the king is a twat. Karuru begs them to burn her books, since she doesn't want to hurt anyone anymore. They really don't want to, since she is the first demon they've met who doesn't want to kill them, but eventually grant her wish. As she fades out, she asks Zatch to become a kind king who will stop all the suffering caused by this battle. And the story really latches on to this idea of the responsibility of being king. Becoming a kind king who is thoughtful and protects all the people of the land is probably the most difficult choice Zatch could have latched onto. And the author provides comparison examples. There's Won Li, who strives to be a protecting king that will put his life on the line for his subjects. There's Brago, the grumpy loner, who is nicer than he acts and has the soul of a gentle and lonely king. And then there's this alien clown, who will abuse his power and screw people's lives up for fun. That's what I like about this manga. It acknowledges that success in gladiatorial combat does not equate to being a successful king.
Congratulations on your victory, Mutilatius. You have successfully murdered 99 of your fellow demonic citizens. We look forward to you being a kind ruler and a wise lawmaker for the next 1,000 years. Tell me, what will your first act as king be?
Don't misunderstand me. I don't just enjoy this manga on a critical, intellectual level. I also enjoy it on a lower brain, hells yeah level. Like that clown guy, he has super speed, making him impossible to hit. So Kyo has them back into a corner, and when Bozo rushes them, he raises their shield. The clown naturally jumps the shield, but then Kyo goes, "Ha! You can't change direction mid-air, you twat, Zakir!" And then we meet the Dragon Ball Z hair attached to Danny. Danny has to punch things to death with his fists, since his only spell is to heal all the damage he receives while trying to punch things. Which is the only time that guns are brought into this story, despite the fact that many of the demons are found in countries that aren't Japan.
What the hell am I doing?
Then there's the glorious Victorime! Yes, Victorime and his insane devotion to the V motif, who launches his V head into the sky and fires V lasers all over the room while his body maintains the glorious V for victory pose! Oh Christ, I shot myself in the nads! Or this Mega Man looking fellow who fires Heat Be My Black! Really? We went with a Jackie Chan Adventures clip? Well, calming back down, this manga eventually went through 3 traditionally structured story arcs, and I'm going to go into a little detail about 2 of them. The first one is especially important because it finally pays off all the buildup we had around the 4 core demon children. Of course, there is Zatch, but we also have Tio. She has an above-average backstory while still being a fun character to actually hang around with. She doesn't have many offensive spells, but makes up for it with awesome shields and healing spells. But then there's Kyanchome and Umagon. Kyanchome is a complete screw-up with nothing but illusion spells in his arsenal. He and his bookmaster are supposed to be funny, but I mostly found them annoying. And Umagon doesn't have a bookmaster for a while, so his constant biting of Kyo actively works against me liking him. I never hated them, but for a while there, a shopping cart with power steering would have been more useful than those 2. So thank God when the Millennium Demons arc came around and finally gave them something to do. The arc pops up when apparently only 40 demons are left. That doesn't leave a lot of room for a multi-demon fight, so the author got clever. Apparently in the last battle there was a demon with a spell that turned his enemies into stone. These stones have floated around Earth for 1,000 years, but now one of the demons has rounded them all up and freed them with a magic rock. This gives us a nice influx of 40 demons ready to fight, not related to the current conflict, and more than willing to be minions for an evil guy. So as I was saying, Umagon and Kyanchome become much more useful in this manga. Umagon naturally meets his bookmaster, an awesome fella who yells groovy every time they land an attack.
Groovy.
Kyanchome doesn't learn any new spells, but after he gets some advice from Kyo, he and his bookmaster realize they weren't using their spells to the fullest extent. Transforming is actually hella useful if you get clever with it. Want to go down these stairs fast? Boom, wheel. Want to trick your opponents into falling down a hole? Bam, fake wall. It was really refreshing to watch this character actually pull his weight for once, and is just another example of really clever battles. Now I'm going to spoil the end of this arc, so if you don't want to hear how it ends, mute the video now and don't unmute until I cut back to images. The good guys win! I know, big shock, right? But I'm gonna keep talking to fool the people who did mute the video. Man, I never would have thought that cat would be relevant. But anyhow, yeah, this is a really good arc. Good enemies, nicely evil bad guy, and it gave all our main cast something to do. And some of these one-off Millennium demons were the most memorable characters in the manga. Like Layla, oddly gothic Lolita demon, and Victorine! It's fun to read and ends with a climactic fight between our main cast and this monstrous fellow. This was a great arc and appropriately small scale, protecting the manga from spectacle creep. You see spectacle creep in most everything, primarily games and films though. For example, in the first Avengers movie, they saved the Earth from getting conquered by aliens. Now, the natural evolution for most action movies is to raise the stakes. But in the Avengers, the only way to raise the stakes would be to threaten to destroy the Earth. And once you threaten to destroy the Earth, you're done. You can't go any bigger than that. What's next? Threatening the galaxy? The next arc, the Fodu arc, starts up with a giant device warping in from the demon world. Aslan here is planning to use it to win the fight to become king. But there are only two ways to unlock the device. The key, which he doesn't have, and breaking the lock with a lot of powerful spells. The last villain had minions because the demons he freed legit owed him big time. Aslan gathers a few minions who are planning to steal the Fodu device from him after he unlocks it, but that doesn't get him enough firepower. So he places a curse on some bookmasters, including Chun-Li, the bookmaster of our friend Won-Li. Which puts our main cast in a quandary, because if they stop Fodu from being released, their friend dies. But Kyo correctly reasons that since Fodu teleported somewhere else for hiding after arriving on Earth, the teleportation device must be on Fodu. So they plan to enter Fodu and reactivate the teleportation device after it has been awakened, saving their friend and the Earth. So they go on an adventure inside the bowels of the Fodu device. While there, they encounter the heart machine, who keeps the heart beating, and Unko Tintin, the stomach machine, who poses really weird riddles to the group. Wait, why does Fodu have a stomach and a heart? Because it's actually a giant organic robot.
Diatron 5, go and destroy the villains who are attacking the Earth. Smash them!
Hang on a second. Hello? Dude, what the hell was that? What? Diatron 5 is a giant robot? That no one cares about. We have a whole collection of Megas XLR clips for you to use. Why pick that? But I like the Diatron 5 review. That doesn't matter. When you were put in charge of doing the editing for these things, I was concerned that you would become overly reliant on reference humor. Now I see that I should have been concerned that you would start referencing things no one cares about. I care. Shut up. Just edit the footage we send you, and no more reference clips for this episode, and we'll talk later, okay? Fine. So yeah, Fodu's a robot. A robot that eats whales and can flatten continents. And regardless of how awesome that is, it does raise a question. Isn't this kind of overkill? I mean, Aslan states that his goal is to use Fodu to win the competition, and while having a continent-destroying robot totally rocks, it seems unwieldy for defeating 20 people who are as small as children. I mean, if it was me, I would use something more practical, like a curse that I could place on people that would eventually... Oh, wait! But that plot is rendered irrelevant when Aslan gets beat down by the real final boss of this arc, Zatch's evil twin brother! Dun dun dun! Despite the soap opera-ness of it all, the stuff with Zatch's twin brother is actually really good, and too complicated for me to do justice to here. So, before we move on from the Fodu arc, let me introduce you to my favorite character in the entire series introduced during this arc. Momon. Mamon is a rabbit monkey with a nun as his bookmaster. He has the ability to precisely sense demons with his rabbit ears. He is also lecherous, silly, constantly stealing women's underwear, and essentially is the biggest troll in the story. And I love him for it! Mamon has made it to the quarterfinals by simply walking away from every fight. And unlike the old useless Kyanchome, Mamon is useless because he chooses to be, like some gloriously competent yet lazy stoner. All of his spells are designed for running away or pissing people off. Extendo arms, dirt diving, slow-mo beam, helicopter ears, deflection beam, and air boots. Mamon does not care what you say. Well, I guess I should mention the final arc a little, but only a little because it's just not as strong as the previous one. It suffers from a bit of that spectacle creep syndrome that I mentioned and just doesn't have a particularly strong villain. Zatch's brother was a great villain since it made the fight with Zatch personal and revealed a lot of backstory. This new guy is dull in comparison. He wants to kill all demon kind, himself included, because he isn't interesting, and the presence of a teleporting beetle barely invigorates this arc. Now, I just spent roughly 15 minutes praising this manga to high heaven, but I know it has some problems. The final arc is kind of wimpy, and though I praise it and count it amongst my favorites, it isn't transcendent within the shonen genre. If you've never been a fan of shonen action pieces, Zatch Bell is not going to cause an epiphany for you. But the biggest flaw is the comedy. I think this manga is hilarious, but believe me, I had to work for that. The author has this bizarre style of doing comedy drawings that takes a while to get used to. Sometimes it's gut-bustingly funny, but other times it's just off-putting with characters bending and contorting in unnatural ways. I mean, look at this. The llama has tits. Hello? Are you sure you don't want an Emperor's New Groove clip there? I'm sure. So, if you get used to it, it's not so bad. But if the Picasso art is a deal breaker for you, I won't hold it against you. And I guess that makes it time for the info dump part of the show. So let's go. Zatch Bell was created by Raiku Makoto. He's got a whole bunch of other shonen works out there, and I'm giving a big recommendation to his latest work, Dobutsu no Kuni. He actually seems like a really nice guy. He's got his own Twitter and blog account, and yeah, if you're a huge manga nerd like me, go ahead and track him down. And that was my 5th favorite manga for the 10th episode of this show. I'm Plutoburns, and this has been Eagleland.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, I regret to inform you that Plutoburns has taken a temporary leave of absence due to incapacitation. As such, I will be taking over the show until his speedy recovery. But rest assured, the show will be much better with me in charge.
Captain Pluto to base. We have neutralized the threat and retrieved the slinky. Over and out.
Ring, 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 banana phone. Ring, 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 banana phone. I've got this feeling so appealing for us to get together and sing, sing. Ring, 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 banana phone. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding, banana phone. It grows in bunches. I've got my hunches. It's the best, beats the rest.